Racing cars is grueling. It forces you to push your car and your body to the extremes, facing G-forces and always risking your life. Because if one thing goes wrong, it's almost definite that you could seriously injure yourself or even die. And there's no motorsport that challenges you more than rally racing. Speeding through countrysides and dirt roads, there's a reason why drivers use navigators. At times you can barely see anything in front of you. Even though it's dangerous to drive, and even to spectators, people still absolutely love it. Why is this? And what is the history of the rally scene like? Although you might not think it, rally racing goes back almost as far as the car itself. The first ever rally race was on the 28th of April, 1887, in France. There was only one participant, and he would unsurprisingly go on to win that race. He stopped racing until 1894, where he organized a new race. The new race is widely considered the first ever rally event ever, having 102 participants and the drive being 127 kilometers long. This led to an age where rallies were common, and they would happen city to city through the United States and Europe. The drives were normally over gravel roads or dirt roads, and they had to watch out for farm animals and pedestrians. In 1985, the longest drive that was done was a 1,700-kilometer race that started in France. But one of the most well done ones was the Paris to Madrid rally. It would on average take 5.5 hours. But many injuries and a few deaths happened during that rally. And in 1903, France, where most of the rally scene was in Europe at the time, banned rally races, or any type of race like that. And most of the racing in Europe was either closed circuit or purpose built race courses, so rally racing was minimized in Europe. That's not saying that there wasn't any rally racing in Europe. Germany had the Herkomer race, one of a 1,000-kilometer race that took place over 5 days. Even the Prince of Austria raced in the Herkomer. He would go on to make his own rally race, and this would be a very successful rally in the early 1900s. Another place where rally thrived was Great Britain and Ireland, where the speed limits were higher than most places in Europe, which led to road racing and higher speeds on back roads being prevalent. After the First World War, rally racing started to come back, and many rallies started to pop up all over Europe. The countries wanted to prove their engineering prowess over other countries in Europe, and many of these races became leagues within countries. In 1932, the French created their own league, called the Coupe des Alpes. This would be one of the only ones that continued after World War II. After the Second Great War, rally was very slow to get off its feet, but it also created the modern way that rally is organized. In 1951, the RAC rally became one of the first internationally driven rallies, and the FIA created the European Rally Championship that had 11 events shortly after, often considered the beginning of modern rally. The European Championship continued till 1973, being the top level of rallying. There was rally in other parts of the world, not just Europe, like in the Americas, where South America, where there was many city-to-city races with the unique forested terrain, and in Africa, where the safari rally became very popular. Also, in the United States and Mexico, where the Baja rallies were very popular. In 1973, the European Rally Championship became the World Rally Championship, or the WRC. This time, not for teams or rally clubs, like many organizations before, but for manufacturers. With the forming of the WRC came a few changes, such as special stages, a slightly harder part of the rally that was often driven on private roads and required drivers to be very maneuverable if they wanted to complete the drive at high speeds. Cross country rallies also came with the new World Rally Championship. A cross country rally was often one that was off road and quickly were called the Baja rallies after the Baja 100 that happened in Mexico. The new things that the WRC got were from other areas of the world, such as special stages from Sweden and Finland, and cross country races from Mexico race Baja 100. The WRC took all the great rallying from around the world and made it into one league. Another thing that the WRC added were groups. the groups 1 to 4. Groups would be separated to make competition more competitive. Cars would be homologated based on their power to weight and a few other differences. As rally's popularity increased, manufacturers started to put more and more budget into their cars, which would include changes that were far from stock, like engine performance upgrades. To combat this, WRC forced manufacturers to create 400 cars that are identical to the race-ready ones for sale that anyone could buy. This is how we got the legendary 22B and other great rallying street cars. Some companies created cars that were not exclusive with rally. They were also used on circuit racing. In 1997, another group was formed for these cars that weren't just rally cars. They were both rally and circuit cars, called Group N Racing. To this day, the rally is still evolving. The year 2023, the WRC Masters Cup, which is for drivers and co-drivers over 50 years old, was made. Unfortunately, it's not the same because many of the big names such as Subaru and Suzuki and Mitsubishi pulled out in the early 2000s, and shortly after, Ford and Mini in 2012. To many brands, it just wasn't profitable, especially after the recession, and it was easy for them just to cut off the rally teams. But there were a few big teams left in WRC, such as Toyota, who recently just won their first rally championship in 20 years, and Volkswagen, who was being a giant, winning 6 consecutive titles in a row. A few teams such as Subaru are stepping back into the rally scene, and hopefully the rally scene grows more and more in the future, as popularity for the sport still exists. Rally forces cars to be pushed to their limits. That means that a lot of innovations happen, and manufacturers create their best cars that they ever could. Because manufacturers spend so much time and effort on their rally cars, they make some of the best cars. And one thing that pushes innovation further is competition. Competition is exactly what pushed the WRX and Evo. Both Subaru and Mitsubishi both wanted to be the best rally manufacturer in Japan. Both of them are incredible rally cars who fought at the top of WRC. In the 90s and early 2000s, the Subaru team won 3 manufacturers' championships and also 3 driving titles. The Mitsubishi team, however, won 7 manufacturer titles and 3 drivers. They competed when people say is one of the peak times in rally racing, competing against Ford and Audi when they were also pumping out crazy rally cars. Both of them created high production cars that use technology from their rally cars. It is clear to see that Subaru with the WRX and Mitsubishi with the Evo need each other. After the Evo ended in 2016, Subaru felt less pressure to make a car that would compete with them, and the WRX is now less exciting than it ever has been. Another amazing rally car is the Audi Quattro. This car is historic because it changed how rally cars were made, because it was the first all-wheel drive rally car ever. Before 1977, all rally cars had been rear-wheel drive. There was even a rule in place that said that you couldn't have an all-wheel drive system on your car. But the Audi Quattro was the first all-wheel drive car. Now you might be wondering, how could they do that if there was a rule in place that they had to follow? Because Audi changed the rule, but they did it in a very sneaky way. It is often said that Audi waited until the end of the all constructors meeting, so when everyone wanted to leave, so people would be more likely to agree. And their plan in fact worked. All the constructors agreed that you could have an all-wheel drive system on your car. They were able to use their brand new all-wheel drive system for the rally car, and they dominated the WRC. Let's just say there's a reason why all rally cars now are all-wheel drive. Even if later cars would have been all-wheel drive, the Quattro started a revolution, and it's here to stay. That's why all-wheel drive cars are so prevalent in rally. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. You clearly enjoyed the video, so please leave a like and subscribe, and check out my other videos by clicking the subscribe button and watching my other videos.